Hey guys, welcome to class number 2. In this class we will address the initial concepts. To begin with, we can already approach the concept of tension in a very simple way. We can say that voltages are sets of energy that arrive at a certain place. We're going to work with alternating current anyway, which is residential electric current, which is the famous 110 or 220 volts. However, a notebook only works with direct current than the current used in the notebook. Anyway, 19 or 20 volts exist. Notebooks work up to 23-24 volts, as you can see in the background. On the motherboard we have the voltage that arrives in the battery circuit that I'm going to show you now. The external battery, in this case it has 12 volts, and this pinout that you are seeing now are the pins responsible for charging the battery. And that's a circuit. You can already see that it has a coil on the side. I'm going to talk to you, obviously, about this circuit. Every time you see a coil, it is because there is a PWM circuit. Okay guys, of course, I'm already showing you jack, which is where you're really going to come in. Voltage, that is, already converted by the source of the notebook so that it reaches 19 volts in the notebook, okay? The most well-known voltages on the notebook motherboard are 19, 25 and 3 volts, 5 volts. And the voltage that is used in the chipset, in USB anyway, is 3 volts on the power button. Obviously, there are notebooks that work with higher voltages in power, as well as 5 volts of 19 volts. Okay, but they really are much smaller. Anyway, no, there. Most work with 3 volts, the voltage of the memory, nothing DDR1. In this case that very old, it works with 2.5 volts, even DDR2 already works with 1.8. DDR3 works with 1.5 and DDR4 works with 1.2, like you. You can see I'm even showing you there on the screen. Is the pin jack. Anyway, that gives a lot of trouble, the pin jack. And you're also already looking at the power button, the jack pin. It will receive the voltage of 19 volts, okay? And it's going to convert and play the 19 tension volts to the board. Now I'm showing the USB output that works with 5 volts and already has the PWM circuit that controls the 5 volts in the notebook. And we also have another circuit in PWM that controls 3 volts in the notebook, which controls anyway the PWM circuit. It consists of coil, capacitor, MOSFET and resistor. Now I'm showing you the power button. The power button, it usually gets a voltage of 3 volts. So you have to actually perform this voltage test, and I perform for you now in memory. Each memory has its own memory slot. Usually it has its own PWM circuits that controls the memory slots. Okay, so you in this case, you can already observe that you have 2 coils, one on each side of the memories and at least one of this PWM circuit in which it has these coils. It is part. That is, it does the control and is the conversion of the specific voltage to memory. In this case we are using this motherboard. As it is a current motherboard, we are using DDR3 to DDR3. It works with 1.5 volts, okay? And you can see from the background in the memory slot that all memory slots, it comes with memory specification stating either why it is DDR1, DDR2 or DDR3, or at least informing the voltage, in our case 1.5 volts, if it were DDR2 1, 8 and DDR1 the 2.5. Now I'm going to show you there already in the background an old motherboard, okay? And it is on this motherboard he has already been informing. Also in the memory slot, the voltage of the memory. Okay, so the whole slot obviously you will have to always check with the test on the PWM circuits of the memory to be able to know whether this circuit is really hitting the correct voltage value, especially in the case of memory not working. When you swap the memory, put it in a test memory, the memory doesn't really work is because very likely is with the PWM circuit controls the memory, it is presenting problem. Now I'm showing you the circuits in PWM controls the personal processor, okay? This circuit, it has to give a volt and we will test in the practice. During our course I will test with you all these circuits in PWM that control both the memory. As for the processor, in short, the circuit, the 3 volts of 5 volts in practice to show you, as well as how we will test all the components. Anyway, fuse, jump, resistor, diode, crystal, in short, all the necessary components so that you can perform all these tests. And also, obviously, I'm going to tell you what it is, what it's for, how to test with the motherboard off, how to test the voltage of the component with the motherboard connected when it will present problem in the handout. It's also telling you the symbol and the electronic schematic, the plate nomenclature, some special observations about each component, what gives defect when it gives defect. So that's very interesting. It is also worth acquiring the handout. That goes along with the course because there I'm informing everything I say here is cataloged in the handout. Okay guys, so I hope you guys like it. They can get closer.